Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the college basketball edition of Today in Sports Betting. Scott, this would be the spot where we usually take a full Saturday card of college basketball, pick out, I know we have a hard time just narrowing it down to 3 or 4 good games to talk about. Not the case here on Saturday. We've got, how many games, Scott?
Well, we got one game that we want to talk about on today's show. I know that usually the Friday college basketball cards seem to be a bit dead. That's usually when you have some of the minor schools, minor conferences, occasionally the Ivy.
Little Ivy League Friday night action. Yeah, they played the Friday night, Saturday night thing, which is a Friday night, Saturday, which is weird, but yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But usually you're looking at mostly Ivy games, MEAC, the MAC, the ones with, the 2 A's in the middle. So usually have a bunch of those smaller conferences that play. Not the case on Friday because you actually have a decent amount of ranked teams playing.
Yep.
So for that reason, you have less ranked teams naturally playing tomorrow. And you only have one matchup between 2 ranked teams. And that just so happens to be the number 1 and the number 2 team in the entire country. So,
dun, dun, dun. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Is the Gonzaga Bulldogs take on the Baylor Bears. Gonzaga 3.5-point favorite. 161.5 is the total. Scott, Gonzaga was rolling right along until they weren't. They struggled mightily the other night, while Baylor, they passed their test against a pretty good Illinois team with flying colors. What do you got here?
Well, first of all, I'm going to address Gonzaga. Props to them for coming back. I don't think Gonzaga cared nearly as much about that game as they cared about the health of Suggs after he left the game and pretty much got carried off in the first half before coming back in the second half. So he was huge. For this game, just to touch upon it, I thought Baylor was the more impressive team the other night. Really no other way to put it. That Baylor team is something else. That team's very good. I still have money on Gonzaga to win the title. So I think long-term Gonzaga, I think, can score a little bit more easily. But this Baylor team right now, I think is the better college basketball team. And if Suggs plays, I still don't think he's at 100%. So for that reason, I think Suggs is the best player on Gonzaga. And if he's not 100%, I got to take the points with Baylor. I think they're probably going to win the game outright. I think this total's really, really high. I would lean to the under. I know that Baylor's offense has been great. Gonzaga's offense has been really good. You have 1v2. I can't take the over 161 here, especially if Gonzaga's best player is injured. So for me, I'll lean to Baylor and I'll lean to the under.
All right, very good. This is a Baylor team that they really, really, really played good defense there under Scott Drew. They were 8th last year in defensive efficiency. They are one of the only 2 teams in the nation who are in the top 10 this season in offensive and defensive efficiency. Scott, any guess on the other one?
Houston? No, Texas Tech maybe?
No, it's Duke.
It was Duke.
The Dukies. It was.
I would not have guessed Duke because they're how do I put this? Bad. But yes, I would not have guessed Duke.
Well, that also sums up the schedule they played this year, so that partly explains it for the Duke Blue Devils. But
still lost to Michigan State, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a like I said, they had their first real test the other night where Gonzaga was behind for most of the game, as you alluded to, against West Virginia, and Baylor owned this Illinois team from beginning to end.
The game was very close, though, for I'd say the first, 32 minutes. And then Baylor won.
Yeah, that's right. It was close at halftime, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right.
The game was close. Right. Then Baylor went on a massive run around, I'd say, the 9-minute mark of the second half.
Yep, that's on me. You're right. That was it was one or 2 points at halftime.
Something like that. And then Baylor just immediately blew it up in 15, and it was a wrap at that point.
Well, this is the impressive part was that they just absolutely shut down Coburn and Desanu. So that's why I don't really worry about the fact whether Suggs is going to play or not. I think that's.
I'm just saying that if he's not 100%, Gonzaga's offense should look significantly worse.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they've leaned on that freshman a lot so far this year.
And they should. He's a good player.
They've leaned on Timmy, too. And my position is if you can shut down Coburn, you can shut down Timmy.
That's fair.
And I like I'm with you. I've got Baylor plus 3.5 here. I think that's a fantastic play.
I think Baylor should be favored in this game. And don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for Gonzaga because I have them to win the title. So I love for them to showcase that.
Yep.
I think Baylor should be favored, and I don't really think it's that close in terms of who I think should be favored, I think Baylor should probably be laying 1.5.
I think that's about right. 2 or less.
Yeah. So I think Gonzaga laying 3.5 is a joke. If they win the game and cover, wouldn't surprise me because Gonzaga could shoot the lights out.
Yep.
I just think there's more paths to victory for Baylor.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take, defense rarely has a bad night, and when you're, when the shooting, Gonzaga, they still can't shoot from deep, Scott. There's still a terrible shooting team from beyond the arc. I don't know.
I'd say, well, Kispert is on another level, so you can throw him out because he's Kyle Korver Jr. Everyone else, I don't think is that great at shooting. They got one really, really good three-point shooter.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, this is a team that's shot so far under 30% from deep this year.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what Kispert's numbers are, but I know Kispert's numbers are high.
If they are, they ain't getting him the ball enough for whatever reason, because the rest of that team, they ain't worth a shit from beyond the arc. So, and they're not going to be able to pound it inside. I don't see the path here.
For the record, by the way, Gonzaga shooting 29.1% from three. Kispert
Right.
shooting 45%.
There you go. So, like I said,
He's literally Kyle Korver Jr. So,
like I said, if you want to increase that, you're going to have to get him the ball more because everybody else sucks.
that's fair.
So, all right, there you go, bud. That's a quick one. We don't have a lot of disagreement here. You and I both think Baylor is, I don't think massively undervalued, but I think they're undervalued.
I just think that based on this
4 to 5
current
points.
line, Baylor's looked more impressive this year.
Yeah.
So far, Baylor's better defensively. They're also the healthier team because
Yep.
I have to question just how healthy Suggs is with his explosiveness, which is pretty much the main, component of his game. So I think that could be an issue. Baylor is just – that's a team right there. Both of these teams, I think, are the best two teams in the country. But right now, I think Baylor is the best team.
Yeah, that's a public line too. I think we're getting all kinds of public line on this. So I'll fade the public all day, every day. I think they've made Gonzaga 3.5 point favorite, or certainly kept it there. So
yeah, well, since we've kind of been talking about this game briefly because we only had one game to talk about instead of multiple, I'm just going to ask you a brief college basketball question. Without the fans so far and everything going on, how do you believe they've been handling the college basketball season?
well, it would seem.
I think it's going okay. I mean, you've had some teams with outbreaks. I know Richmond, for example, has an outbreak and stuff like
Right.
that. But for the most part, I think it's been kind of fine considering how many games you're actually playing,
It's still a little early. I mean, they've only
Very
been
early, yeah.
playing 2 weeks.
give or take.
I mean, you're right about the time where the cases, with the last of them from the initial exposure would start showing up. So, I mean, knock on wood, they've been doing okay so far.
I mean, I'm just thrilled to put in the NCAA tournament in basically a bubble in Indiana and just saying we're playing basketball. And that's what I wanted to hear. So that should help as long as the tournament actually gets played this year. I don't think anyone will be complaining.
It's
Champion, fun fact, still Virginia.
the Sydney could say that's a little skeptical. That's a little harsh there, Scott.
What is?
Well, as we lose about 3,000 people a day to COVID, you're like, well, as long as they're playing in the tournament, that's what's important.
I meant for college basketball season.
Okay.
Because we were talking about the first 2 weeks and how it looks pretty good so far. My
Right.
point was, I don't care how it looks so far. Just give me the tournament in March, and I'm not complaining. I didn't mean grand scheme in society. I meant just based on college basketball.
All right.
I think everybody would agree that they would rather see 20 regular season games instead of 30 if it meant guaranteeing a tournament.
Yeah.
No-brainer.
I think we all found out what the tournament interruptus meant last year. And
Yes.
Yeah, if you could play 20 games in conference tournaments and then the big dance, I'd be fine with that.
Correct. So as far as I'm concerned, it looks like they're on pace to do that right now, knock on wood. And I really can't complain. There's been some blue bloods who have looked very underwhelming so far this season, which we talked about it the other day, with the exception of Kansas, who I actually think looks pretty good. But
Like a solid top 5 team, I'm not sure they're on either one of these teams' level. And
Kentucky is a work in progress, but they got talent. Duke, I'm going to put a question mark for now because I'm not really sure. I think North Carolina sucks.
Michigan State, are they still losing right now to Detroit Mercy?
Well, they were on upset alert, but I know that North Carolina, for example, they were undefeated. They lost to Texas on a buzzer beater in the Maui. That team is bad, like really bad. No, Michigan State's up 4 with about 3 minutes to go.
Okay.
They're probably going to win. But still, a lot of teams you're used to seeing be good, and they're just not as good as they used to be. And it seems like what we've been noticing lately. You still have a couple of really good teams that have shown through, but it looks like right now you have, I'd say, Baylor, Gonzaga, like right neck and neck, but a little bit lower, and then Kansas, and then like everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Villanova, I guess, in the Kansas department, but they already lost to Virginia Tech, so I don't really know what to think of them.
I'd take KU over Villanova right now.
I think it's close, but yeah, something like that.
I wouldn't take them over either one of these teams. You know, that's a great thing. We're going to get to see. Hopefully, we're going to get to see Baylor and KU play twice this year. So
Yep.
that should be fun. So
Should be.
we will get a chance to answer all questions about whether KU is on Baylor's level or not. So, all right, bud, there you go. That's a show right there. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be. It is hard to drag me away from college football, but I am going to make 2 hours out of my day to make sure that I watch this game.
Yep, definitely is going to be. At least I hope it's going to be as good as advertised.
As long as it doesn't conflict with the Akron Bowling Green game, that's all I care about.
What's that called? The toilet bowl?
That's the toilet bowl up there.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, checking it out here.
Do you prefer the toilet bowl or the Mac manure bowl?
No. Yeah, the toilet bowl is actually a thing.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was trying to think of another one.
Yeah, the cashed bowl.
I guess.
I got nothing. It's gonna be awful. But it'll be fun to watch. As will this one. This will be a lot. This will not be the toilet bowl. This will be. By the way, I think either one of these. If you took the top 11 guys for either of these teams, I think they could beat those teams in football.
Well, them and Kansas.
Oh yeah, yeah. No kidding. I think
that's a fun social experiment. Get Kansas basketball team to play against some Kansas football players. And
I think it would go better than the opposite. If you just played a 1-1 like the soccer does it I think the basketball players would ultimately do better.
Just run the Oklahoma drill about 30 times.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, kids, that's about enough of this fun. I hope everybody has enjoyed it. Had another great week here. Appreciate you watching. Of course, don't forget to give us the likes and the subscribes if you haven't done so already. When you subscribe, click that bell. Get notified each and every time Scott and I put up our videos. We do individual videos each and every day. And then, of course, we come together at least once a day to do Today in Sports Betting, where we take a look at the hot games of the day, if you will. So make sure you stop by, check out winnersandwhiners.com for all your college basketball needs, as well as all the other sports. If it's happening, you can make sure we're talking about it over there at Winners and Whiners. So for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at Winners and Whiners, appreciate you watching. Wish you nothing but the best of luck today. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. Guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.